Hey guys, what's up to another front-end mentor video. Today we're going to be doing the blog preview card, as you can see here. This is what the final project looks like. So as you can see, it comes out really nice and clean, and this is quite an easy one to do in both desktop and mobile. So let's just dive into it. So first of all, if you want to download this project, then you can get the assets from Front-End Mentor. And here is what you will be provided with, this index.html. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So as you can see, it comes out just quite basic here. Obviously a stark difference between our final result and what you have here. So let's just get started with styling this. So first thing first, I'm going to get rid of this attribution here that they've given us. So I get rid of that and I get rid of that, the div and the styling. As you can see, I've saved that and the attribution has removed itself. Next, I'm going to link a CSS style sheet. So I'm using Emmet abbreviation here, and I'm just using link CSS, and that's going to link a style.css here to this. So I'm just going to save that, and I'm going to go here into my files, and I'm going to add another file here, style.css. Okay, and in my style.css, to check that this is working, I can just write HTML background color red, and this should change the website to red. So that's a quick way, guys, of checking that your style.css is properly connected. I'm just going to comment this out by pressing Ctrl/, that creates a comment here in CSS, and we can get back to doing the index.html. Okay, so here to do this, to create this styling, we're going to have to probably add an image here. We're adding a learning button, we're adding a paragraph here, a heading, another paragraph, and a small image here with this kind of subtitle for that. So we can create this all in our index.html, excuse me. So let me first create this card. So I'm just going to wrap everything in a div, and that's going to be my card. So I'm going to go View, Command Palette, Emmet wrap with abbreviation, and I'm going to wrap that in a div, which I'm going to call card. So that's going to be my card. Then let's take a look at the files here, and let's see what they provide us as assets. So they provide us this illustration as an asset, so we're going to add that, and they provide us this little avatar image as well. So we're going to add that into our index.html. So image, and we can call this card image if we have to style it later, and the src, so I'll just do /assets images, and no, it's not image avatar, excuse me, it's going to be /illustration article. And then let's take a look at what that's changing here. So let's just quickly save. Okay, as you can see, that added the illustration, and I must have forgotten to save here in my style.css. Okay, as you can see, that's removed all of the styling that we had before. So let me just do that. Okay, so you've got this image here. What else do we have to add? We have to add this learning button. So this may not be, we don't have to use a button to style this, because buttons are often used with JavaScript and where you can actually click it and change something. But for the sake of being semantically correct in our HTML, I'm going to make this a button. You can make it a div and then style the div. I'm going to make it into a button. So we're just going to do card. I'm going to name it card button. So when I do the dot there in the Emmet, that's when I can add a class. So I'm going to add a class of card button, and I'm just going to fill out the rest of this with HTML. With Emmet, fill out the rest of this HTML. So here we can do a paragraph, and we can do date. Here we can do this as a heading. So let's just select this, View, Command Palette, Emmet abbreviation, heading 1, and do card heading. In this case, it's not that important for us to give you know, super detailed class names because we have a really short project here and it doesn't kind of make a huge difference, but in some projects it's going to make a difference. So you want to give kind of accurate and descriptive class names. I'll probably make a video on how to specifically make good class names with BEM. So definitely stay tuned for that. Okay, so I'm going to add here name. All right, so let's take a look at what that's going to look like. So here you can see the kind of basic vision is starting to come into place here, but there's still some things we have to add. So we have to add this little icon. So I'm just going to add it here as an image. So we're going to do image avatar, and then I'm going to do /assets images, go to this image avatar, and we're going to add this alt text for accessibility. I have to add it to this illustration article as well, so we can say this is an illustration for the blog card, and here we can add this is an image of Greg Hooper, and save that. Okay, so here we can see the image of Greg Hooper has shown up. And then something that I want to just quickly do before we actually get into the styling is, as you can see here, let me zoom in. As you can see here, the image is next to the name. So I already know that that's going to be done with a display flex. So it's going to position the image and the name with a display flex. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap that in a div, and I'm going to give this div a name of avatar flex. Okay, because later we'll be applying display flex and we're going to need that div to be able to basically position it correctly. So that's why I'm adding it there. And yeah, that's what we're going to need so far for this. Now we can go into our style.css. Okay, so what are we going to do in our style.css? Well, the first thing I like to do is just get rid of any sort of basic browser styling. So I'm going to use the universal selector, which is denoted by the asterisk here. This is going to select everything, and I'm going to say border 0, margin 0, padding 0, and place very close attention, guys, because when I save, as you can see, that all shifted. Okay, and that's because the browser applies these default styles, and you don't have to get rid of them, but it can be simpler to get rid of them and to do a reset. And the more complicated projects we're going to do, the bigger the reset usually is, and it can save us a lot of time. So yeah, basically that's why we do the reset here. Okay, I'm also going to have to use this style guide. So I'm going to open that style guide, and here we're going to see what the colors we need to use and what kind of fonts we need to use. So we have one font for everything. We have this fig tree font, so I'm going to go and just grab this font. So just pressing Ctrl click, I can follow the link, I can get this font. The font of fig tree is what we're using here. We're going to get the embed code, and this is code that we're going to embed in the head of our HTML. So we can just go here and embed that code, and then in the style.css we can select, we can select our body, and everything in the body will have this fig tree font applied. If we do font, family, and then I'm gonna just do fig tree, and this should work here. Save. Okay, as you can see, everything has had the fig tree font applied here to the whole kind of website. So that's exactly what we want. All right, let's take a look at what our class names are. So first of all, let's do this card. So the first thing I'm going to do on my body is I'm going to give the body a display of grid. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to place the content of the body in the center. Okay, so what this does is if I open this to the whole size, as you can see, it's moved over all of the content to the center of the page. This is really useful when creating these kind of blog cards, because as you can see, if I zoom out, this blog card is in the center of the page. Like if you look at the whole thing, it's in the center of the page. So that's how we're going to style our blog card, by doing it into the center. So that's why we do the display grid and we do the place content center. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do dot card, because that's the class name we added here, and we're going to give the card a max width of 360 pixels. We're going to see how that looks. Okay, so I think that that's pretty spot on, but we'll take a look in a second. What we're going to do is we're going to change the background color to this yellow. So let's change the background color of our doc to this yellow so that we kind of know a bit more what's going on. So background color, yellow. Okay, as you can see, everything has changed to yellow, but we need to also change the card color to white. This is just a typical white, so you guys can write just white. Background color, white. Save. Okay, as you can see, that's looking pretty good. I think that width is pretty good as well, but as you can see, all of the text is kind of at this side, like it's really flush with the card. So we want to add some padding to it. Padding always makes things look better. So we're going to add padding 1 rem, maybe 1.5 rem, and I'm seeing that this image is looking a little bit off-centered. So in my card, I'm going to do a display of flex. That's going to make this all go into a row, which is not what we want. So you want the flex direction to be column. Okay, that's going to fix everything. That's making the button very wide, but as you can see, that's fixed the placement of that image. That image was a little bit off-centered, but now adding the display flex has fixed the placement of the image. Okay, I'm going to add a margin top of about 15 rem. That's a little bit too much. I'm going to add 12.5 rem. So that's going to place it right into the center of our page instead of just being aligned at the top. All right, so what else do we need to add here to this actual card? I'm going to get rid of that. We need to add a circular border, like we need to add this curved border. So let me just add a border radius of 1 rem. I think it's a little bit more than 1 rem. I think it's 1.5 rem. Yeah, we're going to add a border radius of 1.5 rem. And as you can see, the card is roughly looking correct. Okay, so let's take a look at what we named this image. What is the name of this? So card image. Okay, pretty intuitive. So I should have figured that one out, but okay. Dot card image. We're also going to apply a border radius here because as you can see, the image is slightly curved, but it's not as curved. It's definitely not 1.5 rem. I think it's probably somewhere around 1 rem. Okay, cool. That's looking pretty good, pretty nice. Let's see what's going on here further. Okay, so there's definitely a border here, which is thicker along this side, and it's thinner along this side. So we're going to see if we can do that. I can't really remember how you do that, but we'll see. So it's border black, solid. Let's do 2 pixels. Okay, and then can we do a border? We're going to do a border right, and we're going to do a black solid 4 pixels. I'm going to see what that looks like. Okay, so that's giving us the effect that we want, that wider look on one side, but we also see that that wider look is at the bottom a little bit. So let's do that, and let's see if we can do border bottom. Yeah, we can do border bottom, and we can do black solid. I don't want 8ch. I accidentally placed that there. it's going to be 8 pixels. Okay, is that looking correct? Looking pretty correct to me. Maybe a little bit less, maybe less than 8, maybe it's 6. I'm thinking that's looking pretty correct though. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it that way. I think it looks pretty accurate, but you let me guys know if you found a bit of a different way of doing this. I feel like the card is slightly kind of off of that. This could be a box shadow as well that's being applied here, but I think it works moderately well doing the border, so it definitely could be a box shadow. Let me guys know in the comments if you think this is a box shadow, if you think they've done it with border. I would love to see your versions of this. All right, let's continue though with the styling here. So let's go to this learning button. I think I named it .card button. I need to find an extension for VS Code that tells you what you named things, because I always forget what I just named something. Like, I always have to go back, which is a waste of time. Okay, I'm going to give it a width of 20%. I'm going to give it a small padding of 0.5 rem, which could be way too much. And I'm going to give it a margin top of 0.5 rem. Okay, which I don't know if that's enough. Oh, let me get rid of that. It's more of a margin on the top. I think it could even be a margin of 1.5 rem. Here. Yeah, I think it's a margin of 1.5 rem, and I think there's a 1 rem bottom margin. So I'm going to do a margin bottom of 1 rem. Okay, so we have that learning button, looking like Web Dev Simplified with that hair. I love Web Dev Simplified though, he's so good. All right. We're gonna give it the exact same background color here that we have in the body, because it is the exact same background color. I'm pretty sure this yellow button, and I'm pretty sure, oh, computer doing weird things today. I'm slightly tired. I don't know if you guys have noticed, you probably have, so please, I'm sorry, bear with me. 0.5 rem. I think it's a bit too much. I'm not sure though. Maybe we'll keep it. I'm gonna give it a bolder font, because I think the font is too too light. So I'm gonna give it a font weight of 800. Yeah, that looks a lot better, and I think it's black. So we're gonna do color black. It could color black. Yeah, I think that learning button looks pretty good. Next, we're gonna do the published date. So I believe I named it .date. We're gonna do a font weight of 500. And I'm gonna add a specific color here. They have this gray color, and I'm pretty sure this is the color that they're using for everything. So, or for this text. Sorry, not for everything, but for this text. Okay, I don't think it's that color. I think it's the darker one. So let's get rid of that, and let's add this darker color here. All right, let's go ahead and do the main heading. So I'm pretty sure we named it card heading. And let's go ahead and style that. So first of all, I can see that the font size is too big, so I'm going to do a font size of 1.5 rem. Pretty sure that's correct. We're going to do a margin top of 1 rem. That could be too much. That could be too much. Or I think it's good actually. And we can do a margin bottom of 1 rem as well. 1 rem. Okay, margin bottom of 1 rem. So I think that's pretty correct. styling wise, I think the font weight is heavier, so we're going to do a font weight of 800. By the way, here it will tell you what the font weights they're using, so 500 and 800 is what they've used here. So that's why I know that the heavier one is 800, 500 is the less heavy one. So that's why I pick 800 here, because I think it's heavier. Alright, now let's go into doing this subtitle. So I named it subtitle. So I'm going to do dot subtitle. And here I'm going to change the color to this gray, because I can tell it's this really faint looking gray. Alright, and let's do a margin bottom of 1 rem. Alright, and now let's go into doing the avatar flex. Avatar flex. So as the class name suggests, we're going to apply a display flex, and that immediately, display flex, basically we have a flex direction that's going to help us with positioning. The flex direction can either be a row or a column, and the default one is a row. So as you can see, immediately styled it correctly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to have align items center. Align items center. And what that did is, as you can see, it aligned the items on the center on like a horizontal axis. So if we have justify is on the vertical axis, we have like justify items. So you can write like justify. But here we wanted to do it on the horizontal axis. So that's why we did align item center. All right, so what I want to do here for sure is this image. I'm not even sure if I gave it a class of avatar. So the image I definitely want to make smaller. So I'm going to do dot avatar width of 40 pixels. Not 40 pc, but 40 pixels. Let's take a look. I think it might even be smaller than that, which is crazy. Maybe it's 30. Yeah, okay. We make the avatar smaller here, and on the avatar flex, as you can see, they're right next to each other, the image and the text. So I'm going to give it a gap, and I'm going to give it a gap of 0.5 rem because I still want them to be close, but not next to each other. Okay, I think the gap is a little bit bigger than that. So I'm going to give it a gap of 1 rem. Remember from previous videos, 1 rem is 16 pixels. So this is as if I was writing 16 pixels. But it's my favorite unit. It's a unit I prefer to use. I actually think it's 0.75. So I'm going to be a bit specific about that and write 0.75. And then we can see that I think this is for sure a heavier font. So for dot name, I'm going to provide a font weight of 800. Okay, that feels already heavy. I'm going to do 700. Cheating a little bit because it's 800, but we're going to do 700. All right, and that's looking pretty much finished. Let's take a look, just make sure that the mobile design isn't really a lot different. So let's see, let's inspect this and see if it's going to work for mobile. All right, we can add a media query where we make this slightly smaller. So let me show you how to do that. So we can go to our style.css. We can do, to add a media query, we can do @media, and then let's do max width is like 400 pixels. So this means that anything under 400 pixels will have these classes applied. So I'm going to do specific class. So what do I want to change? Well, my card, I want to make the max width to be 320 pixels. Okay, so let's check that out. Let's inspect it. That doesn't look any different, does it? Or does it? Let's see. Card max width 320 pixels. Okay, actually it is different. but maybe not small enough. Maybe we should add a margin bottom here as well, because it seems to be really weird not wanting to scroll downwards. Okay, looks good. So max width 300 pixels. Looks a lot better for mobile versions. Alright guys, this card maybe it's slightly too wide. You could change that, but I think in general looks pretty good. Maybe we can change it to 340. Alright guys, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully my tips helped you. I'm a little bit lethargic today, so I'm sorry if the content is not exactly to your liking, but I still hope that you learned something. If you did, please give me a like or a dislike. If you didn't learn anything, and give me a comment and subscribe to my channel. Check out my other videos as well for more front-end mentor tutorials. Okay guys, see you, goodbye.